Howdy y'all, my name is Outlaw. Today I have a video on Decoded. But before we get into it, I would like to say you can now support me on Maker Support and Minds.com. And if 100 of you guys were to donate $5 a month, I could make $6,000 in revenue. That would make me ecstatic if I could get that. And if you do donate to me, I can put you in my credits. Also, if you can let me know what other rewards you guys would like, because I'm not sure what you guys would want. So let me know in the comments down below. Oh, and only donate if you actually have the money. I don't need anyone who's dirt poor trying to give me money. Please, just please don't do that, okay? Oh, and don't forget to follow 18putza on his Minds.com channel and his group page, the All-Purpose Group. He's a cool dude and his page is great because you can post whatever you like, whether it be politics, memes, or art. Now that we got that out of the way, let's get on with the video.
We've talked about how the word preferences is often used to mask discrimination. When you hear a woman say something like, "I'm just not attracted to black guys," or "Asian men are too submissive."
First one isn't racist, that is purely a preference. The second one is on a racist stereotype and is a bit iffy, but I still wouldn't call someone racist just because they believe that or whatever.
They're relying on racial generalizations perpetuated by systemic racism.
Okay, I had to look up this term systemic racism and it's bullshit. According to Thought Co., the theory of systemic racism accounts for individual, institutional, and structural forms of racism. The individual thing, you can't do much with that. Institutional, well, we don't have any of that anymore. And structural, well, the United States was never really built on racism. The only time we really had racist laws were the Jim Crow laws, but that's about it. The whole slavery thing wasn't really built on racism so much as people happened to be black, because there have been Native Americans and even other blacks who owned black slaves. You can also find in history that a lot of the founding fathers did not want slavery.
But this kind of dating racism isn't just for straight people. So how does racism manifest in the world of LGBTQ relationships? Well, to answer that question, we brought in my friend Dylan Marin.
Oh dear God, not that guy.
Well, Francesca, the answer is not all that differently. If you've ever used a dating app like Grindr, Scruff, Tinder, OkCupid, Bumble, or, let's be real, Twitter DMs, you've likely read something like this.
Ugh, I'm sorry, I'm only into white guys.
It's a preference. Just because someone likes a certain skin tone or facial features does not mean they're racist. This is about sex and romantic relationships, not about friendships or job opportunities.
No fats, no femmes, no Asians.
For the love of God, I do not want to date a roly-poly or a woman.
Not into black guys, just a preference.
Just a quick question, is it only racist when white people say that? Because I know a brown guy who said he did not date black guys. Now, the obvious answer is neither of those kinds of people saying that they don't date black guys is racist. If this was about friendships, then yes, I would say that is racist, but we're talking about relationships, sex. It's not racist to find certain people attractive.
Well, we know racism on dating apps impacts people of all sexualities and gender expressions. I can tell you that this is a particular problem among gay men, because even though gay men themselves belong to a marginalized community, they can, and often do, perpetuate the oppression of others. In fact, a recent survey of over 850 gay men of color in the UK shows that more than 2/3 of individuals who identified as black, Asian, South Asian, or mixed race reported encountering racism on gay dating apps.
Okay, I'm gonna have to take your word for that because I can't access that source you provided, but just because they say they experience racism does not necessarily mean that they actually did. Because if all they experience is the saying of no blacks, no Asians, no brown people, if that's all they experience, well, that's not racist. How they say it can be rude, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's racist. If it said like, I don't date niggas, or they say, get out of here, you niggas, or whatever, then yeah, that would be racist.
Survey says racism.
Not necessarily, because since you didn't say what they actually thought was racism, and I can't access your source to see if it said anything like that.
In fact, there are whole Tumblrs and Twitter accounts dedicated to documenting these racist messages, and when I want to feel even worse about the world, I read them.
That was so funny. That is anecdotal evidence. In fact, messages like those could have been faked. Have you ever heard of Photoshop?
But when gay men are confronted about their racist language, many try to explain it away as a preference. I mean, they can't help it. It's just how they feel. As if they were captive to some mystical romantic force that naturally discriminates against people of color.
You are just a pompous little It's not racist. And if that was the case, then I'm sexist because I don't want to date women because I'm not attracted to them. Or I'm ageist because I don't want to date old men.
And this is where structural racism comes into play, because preferences are actually shaped by learned values. When you're judging a person based solely on their racial background, you're acting on generalizations you've learned to associate with that person's appearance or heritage. You can't say it's their personality because you've shut them down before you even got to know them.
As much as I don't like people basing their views on how attractive someone is on stereotypes, like if they're thuggish or if they're submissive or whatever, it's not racist. And especially the whole dark skin thing. If people don't like dark skinned people, that is just something that they don't like. It's not racism, you idiot.
Our use of race to classify individuals actually increases as we grow older, and it traditionally favors white people. I know, it was a surprise to me too.
You have some of the jokes.
So if our stereotypes about race are proven to be learned, and those stereotypes are shown to influence our attraction to others, it stands to reason that when you're generalizing about race, particularly on dating apps, your preferences are actually the product of an environment that normalizes racism.
If people don't like certain skin colors or facial features, that doesn't make them racist.
And simply knowing that might not be enough. A 2011 study in Australia that included gay and bisexual men found that sexual discrimination was linked to racial stereotypes rather than inherent preferences. But they also found that even men with diverse attitudes were remarkably tolerant of sexual racism.
So I looked at your source and I didn't see any questions they asked in these surveys that if they wouldn't date a particular race because of a certain racial stereotype. Now, unless I'm missing something that's in your source, where do you get that?
Racial generalizations can also impact the language we use when we do choose to interact with each other. Exotifying people of color due to their race or background is commonplace on dating apps. Some people are looking for a poppy chulo, or a rice queen, or a DL thug, but this language is dehumanizing and reduces people to social stereotypes. It buys into a toxic tradition of racism by assuming whiteness is the norm and turning a person's identity into a fetish, essentially making them feel like an oddity or a rare find.
There's nothing wrong with that. In fact, I think if I was one of those people, I would be completely fine with it. You do know white people get the exact same kind of fetish-like thing. More specifically, blondes and redheads.
The second element is remembering how structural racism impacts our interactions and checking ourselves or others when a racist stereotype rears its head in a conversation. Consider this. If someone came up to you in person and just as they opened their mouth you were like, sorry, not into Asians, you'd probably be called a jerk or at least get a drink thrown in your face. So why should we excuse those who do it online?
Although I will agree that is a bit rude to say online, it's still the culture online. The culture online is different from that in real life. For example, you wouldn't say LOL out loud in real life, but you would say that online. There are just certain norms that are acceptable online that may not be acceptable in real life.
There's no reason that gay men should accept racism when they're just looking to get some.
You're sounding very rapey. Very rapey. Well, that's going to be it for today. If you liked this video, please give it a like, subscribe, share it, comment down below, and tell me what you thought. Follow me on all my social media like Minds.com, Gab, Twitter, Facebook, BitChute, Tumblr, DeviantArt, all those different social media. Also, don't forget to support me on Minds.com, Maker Support, or Patreon. And I'll see y'all later.
We bop and pretty hot, I'm as happy as I can be. Whoa.